I realised I haven't shown you guys my playtime yet, so I'm putting a screenshot of my adventures log up now. And this was taken at the end of double XP, so just before I started on the big quest grind, and that leads me on to my main goal now that double XP is over. And you've probably guessed it, but that is just working towards the quest cape. And as well as questing, I started adding some more dailies into my routine, and I'll show you those too. Like I said in the previous video, I'm not a massive fan of quests, but doing them when you're low level definitely makes them feel more rewarding. And on top of that, the keys you get will massively boost up your levels, and you'll see my woodcutting and rune crafting just quickly shoot up from all the lamps I get from using the keys after quests. And also there's just so much content locked behind quests that getting them out of the way seems like the way to go in my opinion. Maybe this will all be useful if you aren't sure where to start with them, because it is a pretty daunting list. And I've mainly just followed the recommended order on the wiki page, but sometimes skipped ahead if I had a reason, like wanting to unlock something, or if I just felt like doing a shorter quest. And I'll link that wiki page in the description. So I started with Violet is Blue and Violet is Blue 2, and then I did Jungle Potion. Now in Jungle Potion, one of the herbs can actually be a required item in the Fairy Tale Part 1 quest, the Valencia Moss, so you can just take 2 of those to be safe, and it stops you having to come back in the future. And then after that I did Missing Presumed Death, Swept Away and You Are It. After this I decided to do the player owned ports tutorial and get started on the voyages. So from this point on I've pretty much carried the logbook everywhere with me, and you can just remotely send off new voyages whenever you can. And I've been using the Ports Encyclopedia from the RS forums as a loose guide to the upgrade order, so I'll post a link to that in the description as well. Next I went on another quest spree and completing Plague City, the Observatory, Clock Tower, and then I took a quick break for cash. And now something must have gone wrong here because I didn't get 100 points. But this cache got me over 45 divination, so I now have access to the confused automatons and the raw memory, which speeds up the future cache. Following this was Hazel Cult, the Death of Chivalry, Shadow over Ashdale, Shield of Arav, which was nice because back in my day you had to struggle to find a partner for this quest. And then I did Imp Catcher and the Gower quest. Now I decided it was time to get started on another bit of dailyscape, and that was the daily challenges. So I hadn't done any of these on any of my accounts since the rework, but I am a big fan of it. I've been extending every task I get for big XP rewards, and it's also nice to get a few extra keys a day if you're keeping on top of these. So I had to do some basic challenges, which has you trying a few different skills, and then you unlock the standard 3 per day. And just like the other dailies and content I'm repeating frequently, I'm not going to bother showing you every time that I'm doing them, but just know that I'm keeping on top of it in the background. So any random level ups you're noticing will be from daily stuff, you know, whether that's quests or lamps from keys. I'm literally not training any skill the traditional way at the moment, and if I do, I'll make sure to show it in a clip in one of the videos. So I'll show a clip if something semi-important happens in my dailies routine, like an upgrade or anything noteworthy, but otherwise it's just the same thing over and over. And most of the daily challenges I complete in Burthorpe at the various skilling locations dotted around, and none of them take long at all. So the questing continued after this, and unless anything noteworthy is really worth mentioning in the quest, I'll just list off what I've done, because you know a lot of them are just needed for future stuff, but nothing of particular interest happens in the quest or is important. So I did Treenome Village, Priest in Peril, the Bar Crawl mini quest, Monk's Friend, Scorpion Catcher, Biohazard, Song from the Depths, Gunner's Ground, Nature Spirit, Making History, and then finally Broken Home. Now this quest is pretty spooky and needs to be rerun a couple of times for the Master Quest Cape, I believe, and I couldn't bring myself to redo it straight after again, so that's something I'll have to come back to in the future. After that was Rune Mysteries, Rune Memories, and then the iconic Witch's House quest. Now I decided it was finally time to make a start on farming, and I just needed 17 to start player owned farms, so I got a few levels just by charging up some urns that I'd be using, and then I left the rest of it for Fairy Tale Part 1 because the XP reward from that would get me over 17. And I finally decided to do something that I probably should have done a while ago, and that was complete the museum quiz, which gets you 1 to 9 Slayer and Hunter. Continuing with more quests, I did Call of the Ancestors, Vampire Slayer, Cook's Assistant, and then Demon Slayer. And now I've put in this clip of me doing these daily challenges because it unlocked the final stage of the weekly rewards. And I just want to mention again that I think these are really cool. And to be honest, nearly all of these rewards are things that I have no use for right now, but in the future I'll be glad that they've been stacking up in the background. So the daily challenge tokens are something that I've been using though, as they allow you to auto-complete a challenge, needing 2 if you have it extended. And to be honest, I'm not sure what the best challenge to use them on is, but so far I just use them on dungeoneering because I really can't be bothered to just go and do a floor. And back to the questing grind, I completed Wolf Whistle, Let Them Eat Pie, then Heart Stealer before starting Dimension of Disaster with the Coin of the Realm and Shield of Arab subquests. And after that was Fight Arena, Tribal Totem, and Lost City. Now don't forget to grab a few Draymond branches when you are here because you don't want to have to come back again, and I'm sure you need another branch or 2 for future content, and I just wanted to be safe so took quite a few extras. And then finally I did Fairy Tale Part 1, and then that got me a nice chunk of farming XP and the requirement to start player owned farms. So I completed the player owned farm tutorial to get started there, and now I'd heard of the beehives being really good XP for low levels and wanted to take advantage of those. Basically you fill them with flowers, and then after a few hours or so you can come back to harvest the honey, and that's what gives the XP. Now let me tell you my mistake so you don't make it as well. So for whatever reason I just assumed that you couldn't place noted flowers into them, so ended up teleporting between Ardy and the lodestone to stock them up. Well, it turns out you can put them in noted, so don't be like me. Once those were set up I got a couple more quests out the way, which were Myths of the White Land and Meeting History. After that I harvested the beehives for some XP, and that got me to 28 farming, which is the level you need to make the second small pen. So I bought the deed from the granny and the materials from the GE to build it, and level 28 also unlocks chickens, so I should have put those in all 3 pens. I say 3 because you should always be taking advantage of the breeding pen, but I think I left rabbits in some of them until they were fully grown. Next was some more questing, and I completed the dig site before doing Elemental Workshop 1, 2 and 3 all back to back because clearly I was feeling brave that day. Going back to the farm I harvested the beehives and animals once more, which got me comfortably over the 35 farming you need to build a medium pen. So the same as small pen, I bought the deed and the items before building that and then putting sheep in. I completed the Grand Tree quest and then felt like claiming some magical dice from the quest point shop. So if you aren't aware of what these are, every 25 quest points you're able to claim a dice from this woman south of Varrock, and it rolls a random treasure trail reward plus some GP. The more quest points you have, the higher tiered dice you get, and they correlate to the different tiers of treasure trails. Okay, I'm gonna leave this video here, and I think it just works out quite nicely timing wise. Let me know if you've got any feedback of how I'm kind of editing it together, especially now because kind of all I'm doing is quests and dailies really. So yeah, let me know if there's any other way you'd prefer to see it presented, but if not, thanks and see you on the next one.